first project, you're going to learn how to make a name tag. It's a pretty quick, easy project, and you're going to learn a lot of skills from it that you can use when you're making other things. So to start, we're going to go over where it says basic shape here, and we're going to change that to text and numbers. Then all you want to do is decide what word you want on your name tag. It can be your name or nickname or some word. And you're going to drag the letters out to your work plane. Your work plane is this big blue grid right here. There we go. And you just want them in an approximate line. Don't worry too much about it, because once they're all out, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to line them up. So you're going to highlight all of your letters and come up here. This is your align tool. And if you click it, all these black dots are different ways that we can line up our letters. So for example, if I click this one, it would line everything up on this line, which obviously I don't want. So I'm going to click my undo button up here. And what the one we want is this bottom line right here. So you can see it highlights in red before you click it, and it lines them up. Then if you click anywhere, your align tool goes away. Eventually, what we're going to do is group all of these letters together to be one big piece. Otherwise, if we printed it now, it would just be separate letters, and you can buy those at the dollar store or make them out of something. It's not a big deal. So when we group these together, you still want to be able to read it. So what we're going to do is change the size of a few of them so that they stand out. If you click on a letter, you can see these white squares show you the measurements. And they're in millimeters, which is really important to remember. So right now, my S is 11.44 millimeters long and 10.03 millimeters wide. This top white square here is the height. So my S is 4 millimeters high. We want to alternate our letters. So I'm going to leave that one 4, and I'm going to click on the C, and I'm going to change that to be 6. I'm going to leave the O as 4 and alternate, go to the U and make it 6. And just do this for all of your letters. Every other one, alternate the height. Okay, once you're done that, now we're going to group them together. So I could click on this C and drag it over, but it's a lot more exact to use the arrow keys on my keyboard because I can really see what I'm doing. And you want to overlap it enough so that when we pull it out of the 3D printer, it doesn't snap apart. And it'll be on a backing that you'll have to pull off. So you want to make sure that they're pretty firmly overlapped and they can't snap. Especially when you have two straight edges. So if you have like a T and an H, make sure that they're pretty far in. That looks good. And what we're going to do now is just make the keychain part. So over here, we're on text and numbers. We're going to switch it back to basic shapes. And right up at the top is an orange cylinder. So you're going to drag that out. And we're going to change the size. So just like in Google Drawings or anything else, you can click and drag to change it. Now if I just try and drag it in, you can see it's really hard to keep it in a cylinder shape. It moves all around. So I don't want to do that. I'm going to get rid of this, which I just click and use my backspace key. Drag out a new one. To keep it perfectly symmetrical, I'm going to press and hold my shift key on my keyboard. And now when I try and change the size, oops, it stays symmetrical. So 14 is good. It doesn't matter. Whatever you want, it's going to be the ring that you put your key ring through. And then I'm going to change the height, remembering my S is 4 millimeters high, so I'm going to make this 5 or 6, whatever you like. And that looks to be about the right size for me. Now we want to put a hole in the center. There are easier ways to do this. If you've looked around, you've probably seen shapes over here that would do it, but doing it this way is going to teach you a few things that will come in handy later. So the first thing I want to do is I want to duplicate my shape. I click on it, and up here, the top, is a duplicate tool. I can also do this by clicking Control D. It'll look like nothing happened, but if you click and drag, oops, you'll see there's two shapes. So this one I'm going to turn into my hole in the center of this. So I'm going to click hole, it becomes nothing, and holding my shift key, I'm going to shrink it down so it's a couple millimeters smaller. I also always, for my holes, make them a little bit taller so I can make sure I can see that the hole is coming through. So there's my hole, here's my cylinder. I'm going to drag it into the center. And it doesn't have to be exact because, again, we're going to align it. So highlight the shape, come up to your Align tool in the top corner, and you want to align it in the center on the bottom and the center on the side. That looks good. Now we're going to group it to be one shape. So highlight again, come up to our toolbar, and this right here is our group. Our group turns anything into one piece. So if I click it, you'll see now I have a nice little key ring. I'm going to drag it up to where I want it to attach. Looks good. So now I'm going to group the whole thing. If you sent this to me now to be printed, it wouldn't work. I'd get one little piece of it. You have to turn everything into one piece. So I'm going to highlight it and group. You'll know it's grouped because it should turn all one color. Now, before you send it to me, it's a really good idea to take a look around. Take a look at your piece. So I'm going to check the top. Looks good. It looks like it's not going to break apart. You can see it's hard to read the letters, but that's why we alternated the height. So when it actually prints out, you'll be able to do that. And it's also a good idea to look around because sometimes when you're doing more complicated things, you'll have a shape off to the side that you forgot about. And then what it does is it takes a picture and it sends me the whole thing. So if I had this shape off here and I forgot about it, it would take a picture of this whole thing and your keychain would be tiny. So it's always a really good idea to look around and just use backspace to delete any extra shapes. Okay, what you're going to do now is you're going to export the shape. So come up to export, and we use STL, which is the second one over. And it will export. Then what you're going to do is you're going to click Compose. Send the email to me. You know, it's my lovely paper. In the subject, put the color you want. And then down at the bottom here, you're going to attach it with the paper clip. And it should just be, because you saved it, it should just be in your downloads, which I think are going to come up any moment now. There we go. So make sure you're in your downloads. And you'll know it because it's an STL file. So just click on that, and you can click it twice or you can click open. Watch it attach and then click send, and you are done.